Okay, is this all working? Not very professional, I guess. But I'm pretty sure this is working right now. So, for the first video, I'm going to talk about how to build Evelynn in League of Legends, or at least how I build Evelynn in League. So, starting off, we're going to preface this by saying I build Evelynn currently as a hybrid assassin in League, and also a glass cannon at that. My belief being that Evelynn was kind of always meant to be an assassin. Evelynn is seriously built around her passive. Everything about Evelynn hinges off of her passive, and I don't think there's a lot of contest in saying that. The rest of her spells are really unimpressive in comparison to this champion is permanently stealthed. In this way, I quite strongly believe that Evelynn is an assassin and should be played as an assassin. To build her like a bruiser or a tank is fundamentally just kind of wrong. It's just not what Evelynn is about. It's like maybe she may be effective at it because Riot has a serious problem with her, but it's my belief that she was meant to be played as an assassin and built as an assassin and functions well as an assassin. If people disagree with that, I can understand why, because it's not as effective, but I don't play things that are effective. I like to play Evelynn because I enjoy playing Evelynn. But I'm getting a bit sidetracked about the theory. Let's talk about the build. Starting off, I guess we should start with Runes and Masteries. Runes and Masteries aren't too crazy when it comes to Evelynn. AD Reds, flat AD, flat AP Blues. These two are pretty standard stuff here. Just looking at early game damage. There's no real reason to take anything else different here. You just want the damage. Armor Yellows. These are pretty standard as well. If you wanted to be super optimal, you would throw in I think you throw in flat health or a couple of flat healths with the flat armor to give you more effective health in the jungle. It really doesn't matter that much. If you have it, great. If you don't, 9 armor yellows are absolutely fine. They will not do you wrong. It's nothing that terrible. Quintessences, I go for the quintessences of AD because you do a lot of early game auto attacking against monsters. And so having that AD, I feel that it's much better than the AP. But if you have the AP, that's fine. It absolutely works. Really nothing wrong with it. As long as your rune page looks generally like this, you should be okay. It's not important that it's precisely like this, just as long as it vaguely makes sense that you have offensive runes that help you in the early game and that you have the armor for your yellows. You're going to be fine no matter really what happens. So, not worth bogging yourself down over too much. When it comes to masteries, we're looking at 12, 18, 0. Nothing too crazy here. Maybe the double-edged sword is a bit controversial because you take more damage, but when you're a snowbally feast or famine champion, it kind of makes sense to take some risks when it comes to double-edged sword. There's a case to be made for the oppressor talent here for Veil's Crystal Scepter, but when you're an assassin, bounty hunter is pretty nice. Big one down here is going to be Thunderlord's Decree. Thunderlord's Decree gives you the early game damage, which is just fantastic. Stormwinter Surge is cute in theory, but the problem is that you will never proc Stormwinter Surge in the early game. You only proc it when you're already late game. Whereas Thunderlord's Decree helps you in the early game, and it's just good in general. Again, nothing too controversial going on here. You could potentially look at changing some other things in here, and I don't think it makes too much of a difference. But generally speaking, you want something that mostly makes sense to you. You can be kind of flexible on the things you grab in here, but I feel like what you're seeing here is gonna be the best bet in general. So onto the item build. So starting off, Hunter's Talisman, just Hunter's Talisman. There's no reason to go Hunter's Machete on Evelynn. It's just terrible. Hunter's Talisman is so good. Refillable Potion, because with my playstyle as Evelynn, I tend to invade really early as level 2 or level 3. In any case, even if you don't take the refillable potion, you go even if you want to just go clear your jungle in a normal route, you don't need the triple health potion. The refillable potion is super good Like, it's going to be enough. You're going to be fine. And we're going to buy that because we're going to get Hunter's Potion later on, which Hunter's Potion is an amazing little lifesaver. Warding Totem, definitely you want to get on Evelynn. The Warding Sweeper is really not ideal on Evelynn. Number one, you don't care about wards. Number two, activating the Sweeper takes you out of stealth, which totally negates the point of playing Evelynn. Oh, I just took it off my item page. Whoopsies. The other things on here are just convenience for me. So I have the vision wards on here so I can quickly buy them. You need to buy vision wards and pink wards. Not buying them is not an option. And you have your late game elixir or sorcery here. It's just nice to have on your hotbar when you're buying stuff. Okay, early item builds after your first back. Hunter's Potion is probably one of the first things you want to buy. This little guy only costs you 250 after the initial buy of 150. So this guy only costs you 250 gold, which is almost nothing. That really is almost nothing. There should be no reason why a 250 buy is breaking your back. And this thing gives you incredible mileage. The idea of having that early game sustain is just a lifesaver for Evelynn. It's so important. Like, I can't understate it. This guy is going to save your life. It is so useful. It is so cheap. And when you're done with it, you can sell it, get some of your money back, not feel bad in the slightest. On that same train of thought, Dark Seal is here. Now, you don't always get Dark Seal, but if you ever feel like you're building up an advantage, buy Dark Seal. Dark Seal is nice and cheap. You don't ever feel guilty buying it. If you feel like there's potential that you're going to start getting strong, this item is just nice. It has some nice early game AP, which is actually quite nicely appreciated. Obviously, the passive do or die. We all know how that works, right? Get AP for killing people or assists, awesome. Increasingly from potions, not a bad little passive. And plus 100 mana, again, not bad. This is not just a snowball buy, but the secondary stats on here are all actually kind of nice. So, and if it doesn't work out, if you start dying a bunch and you can't get those stacks built up, it's just 350 gold. It's fine. You can sell it. You lose a little bit of gold in the end. It's not going to break your back. It's not that terrible. Now the big controversial thing, Tracker's Knife. This is a controversial buy, and I don't think many people are going to side with me on this, but let me justify it. As Evelynn, you need to fight smart. You as Evelynn don't win 1v1s against people. You just don't. If the enemy has full health and all their skills up and all their summoners up and you're at full health and you go run at somebody, you don't kill them on an even playing field. You just don't. Evelynn's not a good champion in that way. You don't duel people. You just don't. Why would you ever take a fair fight with Evelynn when you have your stealth? You shouldn't. You as Evelynn, you are built around sneak attacks and ambushes and effectively kicking the enemy in the groin. That's what you do. You go after the weak players. You go after people who are already more than half dead from killing their jungle camps, right? You go and you clean up people and you look for easy kills. Although Skirmisher's Saber and the Skirmisher's Saber and the Stalker's Blade may help you in a gank or in an invade or in a 1v1 where they give you a quantifiable advantage of, hey, I can slow this guy and get off a couple more hate spikes, or hey, I can do true damage to them with some of my auto attacks. That's a quantifiable advantage that is definitely better on paper than this item offers nothing in combat. But this item gives you wards, and you as Evelynn with your stealth can place deep wards in the enemy jungle that no one else is going to be able to expect. There's Evelynn's ability to penetrate the enemy's jungle and ward in there and sit in there and stalk people is incredible. If you get used to using Tracker's Knife and using your warding totem and sneaking around, you won't ever need the cold or the challenging smite, because you're going to find them and you're just going to find those free kills, and it's going to be easy for you to cash in on. Absolutely easy for you to cash in on. All of Evelynn is about playing smarter, but this item helps you by not needing to play smarter. You don't need to have the diamond map awareness and guesswork on where the enemy jungle is. If you just ward their jungle, you just know. And it just makes your life so much easier.
Um, Always buy your tier 1 boots early. They have to happen early. You can shuffle around some of these items in this early game order, but the T1 boots, they have to happen early. Speed is the name of the game in the jungle. You have to be able to get to where your team needs you and when they need you. You cannot crawl through the jungle slow and sluggish. It's just not an option for you. You need to be reactive, you need to be able to move from camp to camp, you need to be able to get to ganks before they're all dead. You need boots of speed early. Don't skip them. Aether Wisp and Amplifying Tome, these are just damage items. Finally, after all this stuff we're building that doesn't necessarily have damage, you do need to pick up some damage, so we're going to get the Aether Wisp and Amplifying Tome. Get the Aether Wisp first, because the 5% movement speed is better than the 10 ability power you would get from just having 2 Amplifying Tomes. So go for the Aether Wisp first before you go for the second Amplifying Tome. And I would recommend completing Runic Echoes first before your Tier 2 boots. There are some situations where Tier 2 boots early can make or break you, and moving slow is awful, but having no damage is also terrible. Honestly, you want these both at the same time, so you kind of have to make the call in your head on what you desperately need more. But generally speaking, you're going to build them at the same time, so don't stress it too much. Runic Echoes, great item. Again, I don't think there needs to be much justification here. That's probably because a lot of the other enchantments are just not ideal. The Warrior enchantment makes a compelling case with 60 AD, but the Echo effect from Runic Echoes is far too good. There is a way to justify Warrior enchantment, but I'll go over that sometime later on. It's a bit of an off-kilter build, and we can look at that later. So let's start with the standard stuff here with Runic Echoes. Cinder Hulk, absolutely never. I don't even talk about that. No. Blood Razor, no. There's a way to make Blood Razor work on Evelynn, but we're not going to go over that right now, so forget about that. Mobility Boots. Okay, again, the reason behind Mobility Boots is the same reason behind Tracker's Knife. Mobility Boots won't help you win ganks that you were losing before, obviously, because it offers basically 0 combat stats. But Mobility Boots allow you to traverse the map quickly and allow you to get to those free kills that your wards are spotting. Mobility Boots help you get, they help you get to the kills that you were not able to get to before, rather than helping you win fights. Because you as Evelynn, you don't fight people, you find people to murder. You find people where they don't even retaliate, you just open them up. This is going to be your early game build. When you have Boost Mobility and you have Runic Echoes, these 2 items are going to carry you through the early game and into your next big buy. The Farsight alteration, every team needs to have a Farsight alteration, and because you have Tracker's Knife, it's not bad to grab this yourself. This is useful. However, it's also not wrong just to stay with the Warding Totem and just have a superior ward game on your team. Because if you have Warding Totem and you have the Tracker's Knife, it's entirely possible that you're going to outward your own support, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to have a strong vision game, especially in low elo where there is just no vision. Having a strong vision game is great. But if the vision game is already strong and your team does not have a Farsight alteration, go ahead and grab it. You don't want to have more than 1 blue orb on your team. Having more than 1 is going to cripple your team's vision because, it doesn't grab very good vision. You do need 1, though, on your team. So you can pick it up on Evelynn and feel okay. It's not that important, though. The big buy on Evelynn that I go, this is where we start going into the hybrid build, is Gunblade. A lot of people are much fonder of Protobelt, and it makes sense why. I can understand why. Protobelt has fantastic damage currently, looking at some nerfs on the PvE, but Protobelt has fantastic damage, has a nice boost of health, it has stats that Evelynn wants. But let's think about this for a second, okay? Protobelt is cheap, and it gives you a lot of what you want, and that sounds like a great reason to buy it on Evelynn, and it is a great item on Evelynn. But let's put it aside for a second and let's consider Hextech Gunblade. Gunblade gives you much better combat stats, over 2-fold. Where the Protobelt only gave you 60 AP, Hextech Gunblade gives you 80 AP and 40 AD. That more than makes up for the Protobelt in raw damage in that category alone. So, for a little bit more gold, to the tune of 1,000, you're getting double the raw damage output, because point per point AD is better than AP on Evelynn. I don't know how much, but it is. It just is. But that's not all we're getting at here. One of the things that Protobelt offers is health. It offers 300 health, and Gunblade doesn't have any health on it. But it does have the unique passive, where you have sustain from all damage you deal out, which is kind of a big deal. It's wrong to necessarily say that sustain equals effective health. That's not right to say. But that sustain will work for you. It will heal you for a lot of damage. You will stay healthy. When you have Gunblade, you don't feel the need to get tanky, especially if you know how to play her and you are getting ahead. When you have Gunblade, that sustain gives you health in fights that is more than comparable to the Protobelt's health. That passive also fundamentally changes how you play Evelynn. Because Evelynn constantly regenerates health while she is in stealth, you have essentially infinite mana while you're in stealth, which is great. With Gunblade, you can translate that health, or you can translate that mana into health. If you're low on health, just go clear a camp. You're going to get back an insane amount of your health. Never mind the fact that Hextech Gunblade gives you back the effect from Ranger's Trailblazer in a way, where you can use your smite to heal you, because you'll be healed for 15% of your smite, which is kind of awesome. Like, that's totally awesome. You can now use your smite in combat and get something quantifiable out of it. You get health back for using it. Not necessarily a lot, but it is something, and it can save your ass. It absolutely can. Now, the last thing about Protobelt is that Protobelt launches you forward and deals big damage. Here's the thing, though, guys. The active on Protobelt, you don't use the active on Protobelt to gap close. The gap close on it is kind of small, and you can't even go over terrain. It's there, and it's definitely appreciable, but it's really not why you're buying Protobelt. When you buy Protobelt, you're buying it for the big burst of damage you get from the rocket shotgun effect. Let's compare that to Gunblade. Also, let's compare mine. This has a, what's the cooldown on this? 40-second cooldown. Same cooldown for Gunblade, so comparable. Gunblade does a shitload of damage. Like, Gunblade does a ridiculous amount of damage with the active. Hextech does... I think Hextech does comparable damage around late game with... actually, it has slightly better scaling. Whereas Gunblade is definitely stronger in the early game. It's just 250 plus 30 from out of the gate. Whereas Hextech has 75 out the gate. So, Gunblade is a hell of a lot stronger. It is a hell of a lot stronger. And rather than a gap closer, you have a slow attached to it, which to me is just as good. The gap close that you get from the Protobelt, I'd say it's negated out by the fact that Gunblade slows. In my opinion, Hextech Gunblade is superior in every way to Protobelt, except for the cost. Yeah, the cost sucks. It's quite a number more expensive. But Hextech Gunblade gives you so much more. Double the damage, a vastly superior effect, and a passive, the sustain, that changes how you play Evelynn. When you have Hextech Gunblade, you do not need to back until you're ready to back. Like, if you play Evelynn correctly, you will never need to back until you're ready to back. Like, you cannot be brought down to low health and pushed out of fights, because you can just go and clear a jungle camp, come on back, and you're at full health again. This is something I want to talk about more when I get to ADCs, because I can get into this pretty hard. But sustain to me is an incredible stat that makes your victories so much more decisive as any champion. This item is the game changer. This item is the god item for Evelynn. I thought that Rise was the god item for Evelynn. No, Hextech Gunblade is the god item for Evelynn. this item is incredible on her. If you have not tried it yet, just try one game. Just try one game and draw your own conclusions. Hextech Gunblade has always been a love or hate item on Evelynn, even before its rework in the old days. It always was love or hate, and some people hated it, some people loved it. And back then, I wasn't a fan of it. But now, this item is too good on Evelynn. It is just too good. But let's move on. We've lingered for too long. Oh, actually, no. We have to talk about the build. To get around the fact that Hextech Gunblade is ridiculously expensive, you need to know which of the components to buy first. Some might go for the Hextech Revolver because it's cheaper and it seems like a great idea. Guys, go for the Bilgewater Cutlass first. The active on Bilgewater Cutlass is really awesome. And because you buy Gunblade for sustain, you're gonna want some early game sustain anyway. It feels very strange buying Gunblade for sustain, but you rush out the Revolver first and you effectively have no sustain from that item. Also, the active on Revolver is not that incredible. Like, it's nice, but guys, go for Bilgewater Cutlass. It's much better. The stats look like it's not quite as good, but it's really kind of a washout at the end of the day. Between the AD and the lifesteal versus just the flat AP. But the active on Cutlass is kind of what's going to push you over. That active lets you get... That active is, I guess, like a very small but comparable Gunblade active. And this will quantifiably help you in ganks. This will help you in fights. Like, Bilgewater Cutlass's active is useful for those really early game fights when you rush it out. So, go for this first and then get this, and you'll feel fine. Now then, at that point, after you buy Gunblade, you have to decide whether or not you're going to go like full retard with massive, uncontrollable damage, or if you go for a more sensible build. We'll start with a sensible build. If you want to go for a more sensible build, grab Rylai's Crystal Scepter next. Rylai's Crystal Scepter is another item that fundamentally changes how you play Evelynn because your Q is now a perma-slow. And it's a big slow. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it is actually a very large slow. It has an incredible amount of AP on it to the tune of 100, which is huge. And the health is also greatly appreciated. Health plus sustain means that you're actually you're not exactly tanky, but you're going to feel a lot more comfortable than before if you weren't feeling comfortable already. Crystal Scepter is a great item on Evelynn. You can't go wrong with it. And also with this second tier, you can mix and match with what you need or whatever you want next. Though I would strongly push to get Rylai's first if you feel like you're not at full blast carrying the game, because it's just so great. But next up, for sure, you want to look at Lichbane. Sheen has always been great on Evelynn, and that hasn't changed. I hope I don't have to explain why Sheen is great on Evelynn. It's super strong on her. Lichbane, natural translation of just an incredible item. Lots of damage, lots of mana to help alleviate that Q spam. Spellbase active is huge. Like, Lichbane is a gross item on Evelynn, just like it is on Fizz, and he's an AP assassin. It's huge on Evelynn. It makes you do a lot of damage. Afterwards, kind of up in the air, to be totally honest with you. You can look at items like Abyssal Scepter or Zonya's Hourglass, but honestly, past all of this, items just aren't quite so ideal for Evelynn. I would say build at your own discretion past that point, but the game should also be over at that point, and your item buys won't be that important. Abyssal Scepter makes kind of the most sense, as does Zonya's past this point, but the reason why I don't like them is because those two items aren't going to give you the knockout punch to close out the game. And they're just items you buy to fill in the slots and give you stats, but they aren't going to be really what you want in a 40 or 50 minute game, and you need to close out the game. Like, they aren't really going to help you. I mean, they'll help you more than nothing, but you can't find buys that change the way you play and make you a monster. Now, let's go back in time. Let's imagine that we just finished our Gunblade, and now we're huge. Like, we're carrying, we're gigantic. It's time to really carry this game. Go for Rabadons. Rabadons is pure power and pure damage. Rabadons is insanely expensive, but that's okay. The components of Rabadons are like... So you buy Rabadons because you want huge numbers and you want to do a lot of damage and you just want to carry people.
So, in that sense, the components help you in that way. Rabadon's is the ultimate stat stick, and along the way, you buy stat sticks to get there. So, on your way up to Rabadon's, the needlessly large one and the blasting one won't feel like waste. They'll feel good, and you'll feel like a great translation. Though obviously, when you complete the Rabadon's, you're going to be just gigantic. Because that's so expensive, most games are going to end before we can even think of anything afterwards. But with Rabadon's and Gunblade, you will do simply disgusting amounts of damage. You will be able to literally 100 to 0 most squishy champions at that point in the game if you are that huge. You will still be doing a lot of hybrid damage because all that AP will get funneled into that glorious 1.0 AP ratio of Ravage and will be translated into physical damage. So consistently you will always have a fair split of physical to magic damage, meaning that it's hard to buy resistances against Evelynn, because magic resist is only ever like 66% effective against her, and armor is 30% effective against her. Roughly. That goes up and down, but it's roughly so. Most of Evelynn still is magic damage at the end of the day, but MR still isn't ultimately perfectly effective against her as it would most other mages. Rabadon's, though, just makes you gigantic, guys. Rabadon's and Gunblade are two of the most offensive items you can buy in the game. They provide just so much damage. You can rip open tanks. You can rip open bruisers. Might not be able to 100-0 them, but you will inflict just insane damage to them. Like, with those two items, you will do just profound amounts of damage. From there, though, it's hard to find really big stat sticks to fit your bill. Now, because you have Rabadon's, every other AP item that you buy will be super juicy because of the passive from Rabadon's. And so in that sense, I almost wouldn't recommend what I'm going to go over next. After Rabadon's, it probably would be smarter to get Rylai's Crystal Scepter, because that Rylai's Crystal Scepter will actually give you 135 AP rather than 100 because of Rabadon's. However, we're going to go for Duskblade. We're going to go for Duskblade because the active on Duskblade actually means that the barrier that you need to kill somebody is a lot lower. You don't need to go 100-0 on somebody. You need to take them down to roughly... You only need to take them down to around 15 to 20% health. After that point, the Duskblade will kill them for you. Duskblade already gives you a lot of damage to the tune of 75 AD. Now that's not quite as high as, 120 plus 35% AP from Rabadon's, because it's hard for anything to compete with that. But Duskblade is probably the biggest AD item you can buy currently, and it feels huge. Nightfall is a fantastic effect for Evelynn. Very much welcomed, very strong. It is good, but it's only for those snowball cases. And again, it might just make more sense for you to buy traditional AP items after Rabadon's and just enjoy the gluttonous amount of AP you get afterwards. When you're carrying this hard as Evelynn, you kind of need to get GA. After you get the Rabadon's and the Duskblade, or the Rabadon's and Rylai's, you're going to be at such late game that one death can cost you the game. And so because of that, you need to buy a defensive item. I don't like defensive items, but at that point in the game, it will be so late that you're going to need GA. You will need a second chance to get back into the game if things go south. Like, you just kind of need it because the game will be that late. You'll be on a 50 or even a 70-second death timer. As good as anybody is, if something bad happens there, it'll throw the game. So have that backup. Have that GA. Tiamat is on there, but I don't usually recommend it. Tiamat you only want to buy if you need to split push. That's pretty much it. Tiamat has fine build paths, say into Ravenous Hydra, which is strong on Evelynn, but not necessarily ideal. The power of Tiamat is the fact that it's pretty cheap at just 1,200 gold, which is nice. The stats on it are not incredible, so don't buy it for the stats. They're there, and they're something, and, in a pinch, it can help you assassinate a low-level target or a weaker target. Like it is appreciable having that active in the auto attack reset. It is a thing, but it's not going to it's not going to carry you. Never in Ravenous Hydra Ravenous Hydra is strong, but it would just be a luxury buy. You're really just buying Tiamat for cleave and for the ability to quickly clean up camps and really just shove lanes crazy hard and push them up against the enemy turret. That's pretty much it though, guys. That's pretty much your whole build. For a while, I was selling the jungle item at full build and going for runic echoes to upgrade my damage, but losing out on those wards, no. You need those wards at late game. You just need them. Every jungler, I think, suffers in this way where they have to decide whether they want to give up their jungle item or not, because the truth is just that the jungle items are not truly late game items. They just aren't quite fit to perfectly scale into that ultra late game situation, and so people can kind of get turned off from that. And as for your boots, there is definitely a case to be made for selling your boots and getting another pair of boots, but the bonus from boots mobility, as I talked about earlier, are still there. You're still going to be running around and responding to things going on in the map, and you need to be there fast. You need to be there quickly. So I don't think you would sell anything. You would definitely sell your Hunter's Potion along the way, and definitely on the way up, you would sell your Dark Seal when it just gets in your way and you need to buy another item. Otherwise though, guys, that's kind of it. Buy your Sorcerer's Elixir at full build and go carry people. This build is designed behind the concept that you know how to play Evelynn. This is not a forgiving build. This is not a build that a novice could pick up on, first time Evelynn and have success with. When you build this build, you need to know what you're doing. You need to know how to take advantage of having wards in the enemy's jungle, or just having wards in general on the map, and being able to abuse mobility boots and using that speed to get to those fights that you automatically win, rather than trying to fight through fights that you aren't necessarily winning right now. The difference here is that this build is designed around playing smarter and not playing harder, but you have to take advantage of that. And if you can't take advantage of that, then you just stick with more traditional, well-trodden things until you begin to really improve and get to that point where, okay, you know what? I'm ready to start sacrificing these comfort buys and start going for things that are a bit risky, but really they're more like investments. The investment of wards to find those free kills. The investment of mobility boots so that you can get to those fights that you need to get to, so that you can get to those strategic positions and to just get to where you need to be that much faster, because that's just so important. It is so incredibly important. Never mind the fact too that because you're in stealth, mobility boots kind of work with that, because it's hard to take you out of your mobility boots if you're in stealth. And so while you're stalking somebody, you enjoy the benefit of running faster. So it's not as terrible as it is on some other junglers, as people are led to believe. And as always, buy pink wards throughout the entire game. You should always be buying pink wards. Every time you do Dragon, every time you do Baron, you need to have a pink ward. At all times, you have to have a pink ward in your inventory. You don't need to buy two, but you do need to have one in your inventory at all times. You just have to. It is just too important. It again is like insurance, but it's just a necessary cost of living in League. You just have to buy them. So don't go around without them. They are far too important not to have. Otherwise, guys, that's really it. So we'll close up the video here, and we'll move on to next time. We'll talk about. Then we'll talk about this. We'll talk about the skill sequence, and we'll begin to look at some basic strategies with Evelynn. So until next time, take care, guys.